for the Space Coast Progressive Alliance. It's wonderful to have you here. We are coming to you via Zoom and Facebook Live, and it is a wonderful night. All of us have been busy preparing for the coming election. We're asking all of you that have not yet voted to please get out there and vote. Voting early is very important. We basically beg people, please vote by mail. If you can't vote by mail, please vote early. Don't put the voting process, which is so important, to the last moment. In other words, on election day, because things happen. You know, your car may break down and we'd lose your vote. If your kids get sick and you can't make it to the polling place, we lose your vote. If the weather gets bad, we lose your vote. And by the way, I just saw a forecast that indicated that we will have some bad weather on election day. There's a tropical system that's actually coming together just north of the Bahamas, and the models are showing that it's going to coalesce and then move into Florida, not probably as a strong system, but as a system that will cause rain on election day. So it means lines will be longer. It will be more difficult. It means we're going to lose some votes on election day. So please, heed my words. Don't wait until election day to vote. Get it done now. Early voting continues through Saturday at 4 p.m. They close the early voting locations at 4 p.m. on Saturday. Don't wait until the last second. Please, we need everybody to vote. When everybody votes, we all win. Our event tonight is called Mutual Aid Brevard. Share what you have, ask for what you need, and we're all in this together. The reason we're going to be talking tonight about the mutual aid is because, frankly, our area for many, many years has done a very poor job of supporting people in need. Folks that wind up on the streets, homeless, so many people that are in need. It was truly highlighted by the pandemic, but we've all known that this is a problem that our area has had for many years, frankly, throughout all of the southern United States, throughout most of the country. And a number of citizens came together a few years ago to form this organization, Mutual Aid, to help people that need help. And for those that have something to help contribute, we're going to learn all about Mutual Aid Brevard tonight. We have a wonderful panel of folks that are going to have a wonderful discussion. And at the end, we're going to invite you to participate. We open the floor, and folks that are on the Zoom call can participate. You can join in the chat. And so it's one of those things that it's a community event, a learning event for all of us. I'd like to take just a moment to hand over the mic to the president of the Space Coast Progressive Alliance, Raed Al-Shaibi. Raed, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Phil.
You have the floor. You're welcome.
Great introduction for a beautiful program, a great group of leaders and volunteers here. We're very honored to have you end the 2022 year of Space Coast Progressive Alliance with this program. This year was special, and I'll just take a few minutes to just thank our Action Project Committee for putting all these programs throughout the year. This is the last one, but when we started the year, we thought, and I'll share this with our members and with the audience. I know a lot of people are going to watch this later on, but I want to recognize the Action Project Committee. We started the year thinking we're going to do one program a quarter, and we end up producing 11 programs. Every month we had a program. And I want to list the program quickly because it's important to recognize the people and the leaders who put these together. And I'll start with the month of January. We had the Road to Civility, cyberbullying. In the month of February, we had Family for Safe School. In the month of March, we had a program on what the Moors died for. The month of April, we had a program at Tallahassee, what they did in your name. The month of May, we had the fight for democracy at home and abroad. The month of June, we had the Indian River Lagoon and issues with the manatees, of course, that continues. And the month after, we had Plan Your Vote, which we're working on now. We have a few days, and appreciate your input, Phil. Of course, our democracy is in danger. Then we had gun violence, myths versus facts, the following month. In the month of September, we had Florida censorship obstructing education. Last month we had electronic voting promises and pitfalls. So 11 months with 11 beautiful programs. Just my hands and applaud to all our APC group, and thank you for all what you've done, and just exciting to continue. Today we have Vicky Mpoko, our past president, producing this program. I want to thank Vicky and all the people who volunteered today. I know we have Dr. Nelly jumped in last minute to put us on Facebook Live. So thank you for all the people who produced this program today. And I just want to remind everyone, since we're going toward the end of the year, we have obviously every year we have to have an election. So we're preparing for the election for board members and for the officers and board members in month of January. So we have a nominating committee right now working to solicit nominees. If you know of anyone, please reach out to me. I'll leave my phone number at one point. It's 321-961-5234. We also have a couple of Barbara Pinier and Danielle also collecting nominees, and we have few that are in the pipelines. We're working with a very enthusiast group. I'm very excited about next year. I think we're gonna have a new blood coming into Space Coast Progressive Alliance, but we still need volunteers, of course, to produce these programs on a monthly basis. So I'm very excited about 2023, and just want to thank our membership for this beautiful year and continuous support. Now, without the continued support of our membership, it's hard for us to continue, of course. It's a small amount. I'll just pitch it in because our treasurer is off, I think, today. I think she is Carol with us? I don't see Carol on. So I'll just pitch this in. www.scpaflorida.com. You can just click on there and join this wonderful organization. It's only $25 a year. The family, it's $35, and if you're a student, it's $10, so we can just sponsor you. We'd love to have more youth in our organization as well, just join us. I think this is one of the most active organizations in Brevard County. I've done a lot of work, and we appreciate all your support. I think I've covered most of the stuff that needs to be covered. I know the election is important, and I thank Phil for bringing it in. So let's just hear more about, and let's end this year with this beautiful group of people. I can't wait to hear about what, and I know I've heard a lot about what they've done, but I want to see how we can grow this wonderful group of Mutual Brevard Aid. So I'll send it back to Phil and to the group, and we're all ears.
And thank you, Ryan. Thank you for. By the way, I'm going to ask everyone to please, unless you're talking, please mute yourself so that we don't get your background sound there. So thank you for muting yourself so that we don't get that random background noise that we're getting. Ryan, thank you so much for all that you've done for us over the past couple of years as our president, our fearless leader. Thank you for that. And I would like to again remind people, please vote. It's essential that we have the active public involved in our democracy, because if everybody decides they don't want to be involved, our democracy will fail. It's very important to vote. Remember that early voting is continuing. It will be tomorrow here in Brevard County. It will be tomorrow, Friday, and then on Saturday, the early voting will end at 4 p.m. on Saturday. And then Election Day is actually on Tuesday, November 8th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But please don't wait until Election Day to vote. For those of you that have joined us, I'm Phil Stacek, your host from the Space Coast Progressive Alliance. You've joined us on our first Thursday event called Mutual Aid Brevard. Share what you have, ask for what you need, and we're all in this together. We have a wonderful opportunity in just a few moments to hear from a panel to discuss what Mutual Aid Brevard does, how it works. They're basically going to take the program themselves and have a wonderful discussion, and you will have the opportunity at the end to ask questions and to participate in the discussion. At the beginning of all of our meetings, we always like to open the floor to the community for anybody that has a comment or an announcement to make for the benefit of the community. I think we might even have a couple candidates that have joined us tonight, and if they would like to speak, we'll give anybody that has an announcement or a comment a minute to have the floor. So I'm going to ask if you are one of those people, if you would like to speak tonight, please raise your hand. You can do that electronically here via the Zoom system, whether you're on a computer, whether you're on a pad, whether you're on a phone. Somewhere is a little button that says reactions. And if you click the reactions button, you'll find a little hand up. And if you raise your hand, I'll be able to spot you and then give you a minute to make your announcement. I see we have Joanne Terry, our candidate for Congress. Joanne, you have a minute. It's great to see you and welcome. You have the floor.
Well, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody. We have had just such an amazing campaign, and we are in the last few days now. We are super excited. We have been getting support from all kinds of unexpected places. And, you know, like Phil said, I went out and I voted early today. There was no lines. And it's going to rain on Tuesday, and we really need to get out and get everybody to vote. Democrats are still leading right now in percentage wise, but, you know, it's so close, and we're feeling super, super good. I think we're going to get really close this year. So please go out and vote. And thank you so much for your amazing program tonight. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you for anybody that runs for office. And I don't care what party they're in, anybody that's willing to throw their hat in the ring and to compete we should all be thankful. It really, really is hard to run for office. And so for any candidate, I will say that even if I disagree with them, you know what, at least they step forward to try to hopefully make the world a better place. Lily, I saw that you had your hand up. Lily, I don't know if you're still there. You dropped off. Lily, would you like to, yes, do you have an announcement?
I didn't know if this was the right time to talk about my nonprofit organization, or should I wait for the end?
Well, you know what? If you can do that in 1 minute, you could make a quick pitch for your nonprofit organization. Go ahead, Lily.
Hello, my name is Lily. I'm from Complementary Contraception. We are a nonprofit organization interested in providing free contraception to those in need. We have an office in Cocoa where people can come in and pick up condoms, vaginal gel, vaginal film, the morning after pill. That was my pitch.
Well, thank you very much, Lily. That's wonderful. Obviously becoming more and more important in these very strange and difficult times with current legislation, and depending on how the election goes, we may find things more and more difficult with regard to family planning in the future. So, Lily, thank you for your service to our community. Do we have any other announcements? Anybody else that would like to raise their hand if they have? Looks like Barbara Willett. Barbara, if you have a 1 minute community announcement, you have the floor.
No, I'm so sorry. That was a mistake. I was trying to turn the other hand off.
Is there anyone else that has a community announcement? You can take 1 minute to make your announcement to the group. I don't see any. And with that being the case.
Does Lily have a contact for us?
Lily, that's a great question.
Lily, if you look on the chat, I've placed my website, our organization's website, and there is a form where you can fill out and email us. Or if you want, I could give you our email directly.
Well, I see it right now. It says https://complementarycontraception.org. Again, it is in the chat for the Zoom for those that are on Zoom, and I'm sure you can Google it. So complementarycontraception.org is the website. I think it's time for us to go ahead and get the program rolling. Again, for those of you that may have just joined us, I'm Phil Stacey. You're with the Space Coast Progressive Alliance. Our first Thursday event tonight is Mutual Aid Brevard. Share what you have. Ask for what you need. We're all in this together. And, when I was a kid, my folks had to declare bankruptcy, and I understand what it's like to go to bed hungry. As a small child, things were very difficult for us for a long time. Many of you probably have similar stories. You know what? Even people that are sitting pretty in a beautiful home with a wonderful job, things happen. And many people struggle every day with variety of things that happen, things that can be unexpected. Doggone it, a hurricane comes by and destroys your home. Next thing you know, you're living among the mangroves. It can happen to everyone. There is no one that is immune from poverty. There is no one that is immune from the types of diseases that can creep up on you. A heart attack that puts you in the hospital and drains your savings can put you in a horrible position. And it does not hurt to ask for help. One of the things that I think all of us understand in our hearts is that, as they always say, "Oh, but for the grace of God go I." When you see somebody with a little sign on the side of the street asking for help, you know what? That could be you next week. So anyway, we have this wonderful, wonderful organization that has grown in our community. We have several speakers tonight that are going to be discussing all these issues. Hopefully, we've got a few people that can talk about receiving that help. But I'm going to hand the program over to the founder of Mutual Aid Brevard. Without any further ado, a good friend of mine and a wonderful person who has led our community in many different ways over the years, and that is Stacey Patel. Stacey, I could sit here probably for an hour and give you a round of applause and talk about all the wonderful things that you've done for our community, but our time is precious. So I'm just going to hand the floor to you, and I'll let you do your introductions with your team, and the discussion is up to you. This is Stacey Patel. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the invitation to share our work with you tonight. For those of you who don't know, Mutual Aid Brevard was formed right at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. One night, it occurred to me that there would be people who couldn't get to the grocery store, who may be sick and might need their neighbors, and we didn't know what was going to happen at that time. So I just created a Facebook page where we could kind of share information and resources for anyone that was running into any situations of any kind during the pandemic. And we've come a long way since then. We have ended up helping folks with any number of things, from groceries to housing to utilities to, I can't even tell you how many kinds of requests we've had. But we haven't been able to do that by ourselves. Like I said, the group has now over 17,000 people. Many of those are volunteers. Some of those are folks who have received aid, and many of the folks who have received aid have also offered aid. And that's the kind of unique thing about mutual aid, is that it's not a situation where there's a distinction in our community between donors and recipients. We really are all just trying to help each other. And I think that probably all of the folks on this call who have received help from us have also offered help to someone else. So I just want to do quick introductions here. Maybe if you could say hi so we can check your sound as we're going around. First of all, I'd like to introduce Leslie Willett Mitchell. She has counted all our pennies since we started, and she has done a million things to get payments to hotels, to get gifts to people at the holidays, to make sure folks had food at night. So Leslie, can we hear you?
That's me. Hi.
And her sister is here too, Barbara. Barbara has gone above and beyond to administer incredible holiday programs to make sure children have gifts, people have food at Thanksgiving. And she's also helped us to kind of track some of our impact and statistics because that's her line of work. So Barbara, thank you so much for that. This is Barbara. All right. Kathy Jackson is the administrator of the group. She somehow manages to keep all 17,000 of us in check. So Kathy, can we hear from you?
Hi, Stacey. That's me.
Okay. I've got Anna and Tyler Dahl, also longtime volunteers for the group. I don't even know how to describe their work. They have built relationships with the unsheltered community in Melbourne and built friendships and familial relationships with folks and provided support. Every week they go out and they personally cook in their home over 100 meals. And they bring those out warm to folks that live on the streets there in Melbourne. So that's Anna and Tyler. I know they've had a significant family issue today, so I'm not sure if they're able to be on the line, but Anna and Tyler, are you there?
We're here. Thank you for having us.
Hey guys, thanks for having us.
We're so glad you're here. And then 3 more folks are on the line tonight. Actually 4. Tiana Vasquez, are you there?
I am. I'm here.
So Tiana is a mom here in our community. She, through all kinds of situations that she'll be able to share, ended up living in a motel with her child and her partner. And she's now in a house. And her partner, it sounds like, just started a new job today. So we're really excited about that. So thank you for being here, Tiana.
You're welcome.
Jonathan Yops, are you on there? Can we see you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you turn your camera?
I think so.
There he is.
There.
So Jonathan came to the page. He was actually on the streets in Cocoa. He lost his job and reached out to our page. And actually, someone many of you know, Michelle Green, went and brought him a coat. And we ended up getting him into a motel, and then he'll be able to share a little bit more about the trajectory of his experience since then. But he is also, you're in a lease right now, right? You're in a place.
Yeah, I'm in a
That's
studio
awesome.
apartment. Very, very happy.
And we've got 2 more lovely women online. Barbara Perry. She had reached out to us. I believe, Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, you had the first time we talked to you, you had a hole in your roof. And a lot of you know Phil Moore. Phil Moore went over there in the rain and climbed up on her roof and patched up the roof. And we've been in contact with her since then. She got involved in the emergency rental assistance program. We were able to get her onto that. So I'm sure she's going to be able to share more about her story. Barbara, can we hear from you just to make sure we can hear your mic? Turn yourself off mute, ma'am.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Perfect. So whenever you want to speak, it's good to hear from you, Barbara. And then one more. Is Cheryl Daly here? I'm not seeing her. She was here earlier, so she may pop back on. And if so, we will introduce her at that time. But mutual aid is all about community, so we really wanted to facilitate this as kind of a community conversation. So the first question I wanted to ask to our panel is, what is mutual aid? Let's just start there. And how do you believe that it differs from traditional charity or from the traditional kinds of agencies that exist in our community? And anyone on the panel can just jump in.
So for our experience, this is Anna and Tyler Dahl. We have been able to, when we're out at night doing street outreach, meet a family with a 4-year-old child living in the woods and be able to contact mutual Aid Brevard moderators or admins and ask for help to put this family in a hotel and connect them with resources. That's one example of many that I can give, but I'll give someone else an opportunity.
But also at the same time, sorry, I'm going to jump in. It's the only true emergency response that's available right now in our community. Nonprofits oftentimes have a lot of red tape that they have to jump through, and that prevents them from being able to respond rapidly, which quite oftentimes is what's needed. And we are not subject to that. The way that we are organized as a community, which allows us to just help right there on the spot.
Yeah, that's what I'd have to say. Something is different about this group is, like what Tyler said, is if you go through all the agencies that are around, they're great and they can help you, but there's nothing that can get you any like immediate or really make you feel better about what you're doing instead of having to wait weeks. This group can help you out instantly that night, and that makes a big difference.
This is Barbara Perry. I would like to also just add that how it differs from other charitable organizations. One, it's every member of mutual aid is hands-on, and when someone posts a need in the group, it spreads like wildfire. And so it doesn't usually take long for that need to be met with, a reasonable need to be met. And it's I know people go to sleep, but it's like 24/7. I mean, Facebook never closes. That's the difference.
That's true. All right. Can you share a bit about the impact? I'm going to ask Barbara or Leslie to chime in on this first, but a little bit about the impact that Mutual Aid Brevard has had in the past few years.
Which Barbara?
Barbara Willett and Leslie Mitchell.
Well, can share a few statistics. A lot of the needs are just met directly from person to person, but we also have a piggy bank where people can contribute, and some of the more complex needs are met that way. And just through the piggy bank coming in and out, since March of 2020, we've raised $356,000. We have spent $355,725. That has gone to, just looking at my numbers here, 56% of that has gone to housing and shelter, and that could be hotel rooms, it could be a rent assistance, it could be down payment on a rental unit. And then about 20% has gone to meals and groceries. We've had at times we've had a wonderful grocery squad that takes care of shopping and delivering groceries to people. We spend about 11% of our funds on utilities, paying power bills and water bills for people. About 10% is on transportation, and that can be car repairs, gas cards, bus passes, that kind of thing. And then the rest has been things like housewarming, gift registries, and books, children's items, diapers, things like that.
That brings up one thing that I think is different about us too. We have zero overhead. We're entirely volunteer run. Every dollar, every dime goes directly to one of these kinds of things. So,
yes.
Do you have anything else you wanted to share, Leslie?
Just our current membership is 17,765. They're mostly centered in Melbourne and Palm Bay areas, but we have a lot in Central Brevard and a lesser amount in Northern Brevard. But that's kind of the makeup of our group.
And I would just add, in addition to the direct support and the dollars spent and the sort of tangible impact that we've had, the other side of that is just that I think there's a feeling of hope that that we have as participants, and that I hope that many people who have benefited through the program and that also then turn around and helped others it's just this exchange of needs and fulfillment, and this spirit of exactly as, and I appreciate Phil kind of repeating the mantra of, we're all in this together. Give what you can, ask for what you need, and we're all in this together. And just bringing a lot of people together in many different ways. And it's not that clear level, here's a donor and here's a beneficiary, and the distinction between who's doing what. We're just all in it together, and that's really a powerful thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, and a lot of times the aid given is not financial, it's advice. It's, here's what I did when I was in this situation. It's, this agency can help you, or that agency can help you.
Tiana Bar.
It's possible that we may have lost Stacey. I'm not sure. Stacey, are you with us?
Yes. Can you hear
Good.
me?
I've got you.
Okay. So I wanted to direct this question to Tiana, Barbara, and Jonathan. What impact has Mutual Aid Brevard had in your lives? And then what impact have you been able to make using that platform for other people? Because I know I've seen each of you use that platform to serve other members of our community. So whoever wants to jump in first.
So how you guys have pretty much saved me, like, multiple times. You guys are beyond being amazing. When we ended up losing the house and ended up in the hotels, you guys definitely helped out when it came to the room. That was definitely like a huge impact, because there was times that we did not know if we would have anywhere to sleep at night. And as well as when we were able to get the funding for the room and the house, when we were finally able to find a house, and that was through you guys. If you never took me to the meeting, the county meeting, that would have never. I mean, I don't know where I would be right now if I hadn't ever found the mutual aid page. And that is, like, you guys pretty much like saved us, because I was at a complete loss, giving up, done. And you guys were there. So that's my impact. I've been able to as well tell some of my friends who were able to get help from the county as well. So from there, it's kind of like a word of mouth that, everyone's trying their best to help out everyone as much as possible.
Yeah, that's definitely something we've learned, is that the folks that we're able to impact, they have the most knowledge about the kinds of services and the kinds of information that are the most helpful. So them passing it along is actually more helpful than us passing it along. What about you, Barbara?
Well, I have been a member of Mutual Aid pretty much since March 2020. And so I have been fortunate enough to watch and see how the group has grown exponentially. And I think when I joined, there may have been 500 to 700 members in the group. So how the group has impacted me, I was thinking of this earlier. I mean, the list is long. It's long. It's something as simple as I think it's Leslie, who I needed a notary one time, and it was Leslie who came and did the notary for me.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and groceries at one time. Something as simple as that to, I wound up homeless because I was living in property that eventually was condemned. So there was help from the group with hotels, Occasionally, I was asked to speak in front of the county commission, which I did back in May. And I thought, what's the point of doing this? I never would have done that if Stacey had not invited me to do so. And as a result of that, they were able to put me in a hotel for several months. The impact is huge. It's just huge. And it made me feel not so alone. That I think that's important to say that, because I'm not gonna cry, because I am alone, pretty much out here in the world. But mutual aid has helped me not to feel so alone. So the list is long. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but for the sake of time, I will not. And how I have been able to use the group to impact someone else. I met someone back in April, just a random person, a woman that I met who was living in her car, who had come here from another place to escape an abusive relationship. And I said, wait a minute, I know this group I belong to. So I got onto the group and started posting, and people again, responded. The request spread like wildfire, and people responded, and she was able to. Someone met her and gave her gas for her car, and she is just an update on her. Got some help from another agency, a local agency, who put her in a hotel, and she's got a job working at a convenience store. So the impact is huge, and it reaches far. I'm just 17,000 people doesn't need. I know there's like probably 17,000 more that don't know about mutual aid and probably could benefit from the heart. There's just heart in the group, and humanity of it all. But it's had a great impact on me in the last 2 years.
Thank you so much, Barbara. And Jonathan, did you want to share as well?
Yeah, I do. I know I was impacted from mutual aid from the beginning. When I called in that night, I just couldn't take any more. So basically, you guys pretty much saved my life. But I had been making my own phone calls, doing my own thing, and trying to get all the connections that I could. And I did a really good job at that on my own. But having people like the group kind of throw out some help here and there, help knock on a door, that made all the difference in the world with me, because I had vocational rehabilitation, blind services, I had employees working with me. And if it wasn't for my tenacity with talking to those people, with your guys' help of getting me a place to stay, none of those other things would have helped, because they needed me to be in a residence, whatnot. And so you guys helped me out where I needed it. And that was something that I'll never forget. And I'll always be a member of this group. And I've tried to help other people. I've gave some people some food a couple times. And my best thing that I can do right now to impact the group is I just give out advice from only things that I've been through. And if I think I can give somebody some information that will help them, then I'll definitely want to do that.
Absolutely.
But this group has been wonderful, and I think it's going to impact a lot of other people's lives. And I look every day and I see some in there that, maybe one day I can pitch a little bit more for. But there's a lot of people, like my situation, Stacey, I went from being gainfully employed and had a place as a residence to the next day I was jobless and homeless. And that's how fast it happened. I would have never figured, never been in the type of situation in my life. I've always maintained, I've always took care of my business. And then all of a sudden here I am one day, I'm on the street with a bag in my hand. So I wasn't willing to accept that, and so that's why I did what I did on my own. But without this group, I think it would have definitely took me a lot longer. Now I'm in my own studio apartment, and everything's moving forward. I can't say anything better about that. I'm feeling good about everything, and this group has helped me out a great bit.
And I love seeing you in your glasses. How's your vision?
Oh, it's good. This is just reading glasses. I only need that in case something pops up. I wanted to see people's faces better, but I can see distance. I'm still like a 6-year-old because I see things that I'm like, holy cow, I can see that guy on that roof over there. That's a half mile away. So no, I gotta wear the reading glasses.
Just so
I can wear the reading glasses.
The reason that Jonathan actually lost his job, he was working at a motel. He lost his job because he couldn't see. And they
legally blind at that time.
He didn't think he was helpful. So he's been able to regain his sight and get some housing. So you've come a long way, Jonathan.
Well, the thing is I got the lease on this apartment 11 days before the 1-year anniversary of my situation. So 11 more days, I'd have been doing this for a year, and I can't be happier about that, So it's been good, and I still making those phone calls like before. It's like a part-time job basically. If you want to contact people, I've spoke with our elected branch and higher senators and things, and so I've made some connections. I have a Rolodex that's full of things, that's for sure. And maybe one day I can get it all printed out.
There's a lot of advocacy to do.
Yeah. So.
All right. Moving on to a couple of our volunteers. So I'm going to ask this to Kathy and Anna and Tyler and Leslie and Barbara, if you want to chime in. Could you share any specific examples of the kind of work that you have done as mutual aid volunteers? And I'm actually going to combine that with another question, and what you have learned from your participation in those kinds of things, what you've learned about our community.
So I'll go first. So the kinds of things that I have done, of course, I do the background stuff with all the administration, but on the volunteer end of things within the community, I've worked with food. For a long time, I did bagel donations. Einstein, every day of the week, Einstein's Bagels donates their leftover bagels to someone to be able to get them out into the community. So for about a year, every Sunday, I picked up bagels at Einstein, and I took them out to people who had expressed the need for additional food or just something to help their family. And what I learned with that, first off, was that Brevard is huge. Because there were some weeks that I would do from Titusville down to South Palm Bay. I quickly learned to divide it up into regions and split it to given regions by the week. But the other thing that I learned is that people are genuinely appreciative of anything that you can offer them. And many times when I would take bagels or when I took back to school clothes, things for their children, when I would get to the door, it would be, let me give you this so that you can give it to someone else. So what I became was kind of that go-between. People who couldn't get out to offer what they had to give to others would exchange it for something I was bringing to them, and then I would figure out who needed it. So it's been a blessing to me to be able to see what can be done just by stepping out and offering to help someone.
I'll talk about something that's been going on recently. I made a new friend through the mutual aid group. She's a single mom that relocated here from another state, escaping domestic violence. And she reached out to the mutual aid group for assistance for her hotel because she had nowhere to go with her toddlers. So I went to extend her stay and got to meet her, and got to take the children trick-or-treating and get them out of the hotel room. Mom got the girls into daycare and starts her new job on Monday. And we'll be having a safe place to stay for a period with services to help her get back on her feet. So mutual aid for me has helped me build relationships and meet new people and make new friends.
And oftentimes that's what it boils down to, is just building those relationships with your fellow, Brevardians that are around us. All of our neighbors, everybody, that just being there, just being an ear to, or a shoulder to lean on at times it means a lot to someone. And then on top of that, having the avenues to be able to advocate for someone, to understand and know which doors to knock on, which so many members of the group are just doing on their own, to many of the comments made previously, where people who have already been through this can help other members of our community actually navigate those services, which honestly are not the easiest. And there's a lot of hoops and there's a lot of things that you got to do in order to just get the help that you need.
Yes.
If I could interrupt real quick, what Tyler said is a big thing, and I meant to mention something about that. Is the support that I've received from this group, just by putting messages out there, talking with different people. They used to bring me a meal on Monday on their way to the church. They would stop by the hotel that I was at and bring me warm food, and that was always nice. I look forward to that. So the friendships, I guess, in the way that you can build from this group have helped me a lot, because I'm here alone. I don't have any family here. I don't have any friends here. And so that's why this group helped me to keep my brain going in the right direction. So I appreciate that very much.
Leslie, Barbara, have you learned anything about our community through your participation?
I've learned a lot. I've learned, it's amazing the growth in the last 2.5 years. I've learned about our community. I've learned that there's so much need, and that I've learned so much about what services we do have in our county. There are so many different types of agencies and entities that can help, and just trying to learn what they all are and make those happen it's really incredible. And I've learned how kind people are.
And if I can poke my nose in, I'd like to remind everybody that when you're not speaking, I encourage you to please mute yourself. We're getting some noise in the background that I think may be coming from somebody who's not muted. So please mute yourself, and then when it comes time to speak, you can unmute yourself. That was it. Somebody just got it. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for that. Back to you, Stacey.
Tiana, Barbara, and Jonathan, could you share a little bit? I don't think everyone in our community understands the kinds of situations that folks are really facing in our community. So could each of you maybe share a little bit about what led to either your homelessness or the challenges that you encountered? What was it that led to your situation, and what needs to change in our community in order to be more supportive, so that the folks that encounter those kinds of challenges maybe either get the help they need, or that they don't encounter those challenges in the first place? So what were the challenges that led to your situation, and how could our community be more helpful?
Well, with my situation, it really wasn't a community issue. When I had been at my house for almost 3 years, and when COVID, they told me they weren't selling. COVID hit, and bam, they sold the house. And they told us not even a month before our lease was up, for our 3rd year. So we had no time to even find anything. At that point, my husband had just started his business. So he technically did not have a job, and it was just based on my income alone. And when you're based on your just one income, even though there is two, it messes you all the way up. Like I was making at that time $17 an hour and could not qualify for a 1-bedroom apartment. Like it was insane. But I was paying $1,200 a month at that very time. But I couldn't qualify for a 1-bedroom.
Just to interject, how much did you pay at the hotel when you had to move in there?
We paid, I think it was in between a month. It was between $2,400 and $3,000.
So the people
just depends on holidays or the weekend. If they jump it up from $90 to $250, because that happened multiple times. I mean, multiple. One night it would literally be 89 plus tax, and then the very next day you're paying almost $300. And how can you do that? Like it's just, there's no way.
And your daughter, how old was she when you were in the motel?
She was 9. She's 10 now, but yeah, she just turned 10, but she was 9 while we were there. That was rough. That was rough, trying to do the whole school and the transitioning, getting her to classes one time. I mean, they had a van come pick them up, but that van's dropping off at 3 other schools also. My daughter would show up to her elementary school almost a half an hour, 45 minutes late every day, and doesn't come home until almost 4 or 5 o'clock. Like it was a lot. For her, it was a lot.
But it does sound like affordable housing seems like something that needed to happen for your family.
And it still does for everybody. I mean, and still, I don't even think we have affordable housing. We got lucky and blessed with what we got, and it is definitely not affordable, but we push through, we make it happen. But affordable housing is needed. Like it is needed so bad here.
Yeah, that's what I ran into.
Well, and maybe some policy too around.
Like
go ahead, Jonathan.
What qualifies? Like they should. That I feel like what qualifies should be a big factor, especially if you're paying almost $3,000 a month in a hotel. How are you going to tell me I can't qualify for a house? I clearly do. I've been paying this for the past 6 months.
I do wonder about that from a policy perspective. If giving, hotel receipts, if you can pay $3,000 a month for 6 months to live in a hotel, that should be some way for you to qualify for affordable housing. Jonathan, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, that was something that I was running into towards the end here. I was fortunate and grateful that I found the place that I'm in, but I was looking for studio apartments, and even the ads that would say affordable, I would call them and they would want $1,700 to $1,900 a month for a studio apartment. That made no sense whatsoever. And that's where my situation was once I lost my job, I couldn't find a job because I was blind. Nobody was going to hire me. I have a disability, so that takes another challenge. And nobody would even talk to me or look at me. I had no income, anything. And without this group, you guys helped me. Now I'm back where I'm getting there, but I'm not quite there yet. But we're definitely going the right direction, and I'm happy about that. But that's the challenge is when I was out there sleeping next to a tree, I mean, it's difficult. The police officers in the area, as much as they want to do good things, I got run off from so many spots, and I got told I don't have a criminal history. And I got told at least twice a night, if you don't leave here, we're going to take you to jail. Well, what would that do? That would just make the situation worse. And I think I have a bunch of solutions, but whether or not they're will be able to be done is another thing. The homeless people, I've noticed myself, once you get into that situation, it's so hard to dig out of the hole that you get into that you're almost trapped there. And if you don't have any resources or help, it just gets harder and harder and harder to get out of that cycle. That's one thing is once I get done, I want to try to talk to some people, whether it's just people I meet on the street. I've done that on a bus already. Just talked to a couple of people. Because nobody should have to live like they do if they're trying. If they're actually trying to get into a better situation, there should be some program, something that's set up to help them. And it was mentioned earlier, there's so much red tape with different organizations that they have to go through. Well, they need to learn how to streamline that so it's not so long, because like the Our Floor program was great. They helped me for a small time, but then I couldn't get hold of anybody for months. I couldn't get hold of anybody at all. And that didn't make any sense to me. I was told that they would call me, my case manager would call me. I never once talked to a case manager, not one time. And that's where you're beating your head against the tree, is you need these people to contact you so you can move forward, but then they never contact you. So it gets frustrating. That's where you just keep calling people and calling other people and call somebody else, because that's all you can do. You can't think about it, because if they're not going to call you, they're not going to call you. You can't make them do it. So.
Barbara, can you take yourself off mute?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I agree with Jonathan. When once you get into that cycle, it is very hard to break that cycle. I'm 61 years old, and for the better part of my adult life, I was always pretty self-sufficient and worked. I didn't make a lot of money. How I wound up dealing with my circumstances and being in need of help from the group and other agencies. I got sick. I got breast cancer, and as I was finishing up 2 years intensive treatment for that cancer, and was getting ready to rejoin life and the world. It was March 2020, and the pandemic hit. And so my doctor said, well, you can't leave your house. And the house I was living in was a rental property that was being rented to me by a slumlord who refused to make any repairs. And so a small that keeps telling me to unmute myself. Multiple agencies, and basically I was told that the need was so high, the homeless population in Brevard County was so high that there basically was no help. I was told those words by professional people who are in organizations who were supposed to help us. I also ran into, at the time, falling into categories. One, I had no choice. So I would, well, there's this program and there's that. 9, and I was not quite technically considered a senior citizen. So, I'm still dealing with residual health issues from my years.
Barbara, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but we are having trouble with your audio, and we can hear you every now and then, but then we lose you. So,
right.
I'm not sure if you could tap it, maybe if that might help. But
I'm gonna see. I keep tapping it. Can you?
Yeah, you're in and out, but I think everybody has heard your story fairly well. I think we got the idea. I'm going to pass it right back to Stacey, and Stacey, why don't you pick it up?
Yep. So I want to ask this to everyone. I think a lot of the folks in your audience are involved with local nonprofits and charities. And I want to ask, or with government organizations. So I wanted to ask everyone, both our volunteers and the folks who have received help from us or from other agencies, what could our government and what could our nonprofits be doing better to support, or more effectively to support people who are encountering the challenges that you're facing? So what could government or nonprofit agencies, and I know some of you have hinted a little bit at this, but maybe Anna and Tyler, could we start with you? Are you there?
So that's a difficult one to say because there is such a great need that, I mean, caseloads are huge right now. And once again, that kind of goes back to our function where we act as kind of like an overflow for some of these organizations that, one, can't respond quickly, and two, just can't handle their current caseload. I mean, that's a complicated topic that you could do a whole nother talk on by itself, really.
Something that I've noticed is someone will contact an organization that specifically serves that person's need that they're contacting them about, but is then referred to a different agency because that one that they contacted says they don't have funding or they don't have space.
It does end up being a circular referral system, which is very counterproductive.
Yes. And imagine being the person in that position that just needs help, just needs someone to take the time and listen. And even just allowing someone to speak and they hear themselves out loud, they sometimes can answer themselves. So if someone who knows what resources are available in the community, or you're an organization that understands how the system works, you can guide that person to get that help rather than just say, we can't help you. I personally experienced that myself, texting a local nonprofit organization that is supposed to offer and provide resources. And I asked if they could give me any information for a single woman who is not escaping domestic violence and does not have a history of substance abuse. And they flat out told me no. And I asked for the entire county of Brevard if there were any resources that I could share with her. And this organization is an organization that is supposed to literally offer resources, and offered nothing.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback a little bit about that. I do think that there could be improved cooperation, improved kind of strategic planning, improved kind of centralization, because when you are in trouble, you might not have a phone, you might not have a home, you might not have access to the internet. So getting access to any of that, if you get in, you have to find someone on the other end who's going to help you. You cannot folks in these situations that are experiencing trauma, they can't call 100 numbers. They can't. And they can't, by the 10th one where they're told no, that there's no help for them, it's not even just the lack of services, it's the lack of hope, right? I mean, people give up. So we as a community,
looks like we might have lost
together,
Stacey for just a moment. Oh, Stacey, you're back with us. We lost you for just a moment. We had an internet drop off there.
Can you hear me now?
We've got you loud and clear.
Okay. So of just coordinating and strategically planning to make sure that we are able to be the voice on the other end, that not only is able to just emotionally be supportive, a friend, a community member. And that's what's so great about the Facebook group, right? There's 17,000 people there. There's almost always somebody online to say, if nothing else, you're not alone. You know, you're not alone. And sometimes that's what people need the most in these situations. So personally, I just think we could do a better job of coordinating and centralizing and strategically planning so that people aren't forced to kind of go to 100 doors when they don't even have transportation. And when, to Jonathan's point, they're being arrested for sleeping on a bench, right? I mean, so anyway, sorry to interrupt there, but Leslie, Barbara, anyone else have any suggestions for government or for nonprofits, how we could do better in our community?
I would add this. I mean, I've dealt with several agencies. Can you all hear me? I want to make sure that I'm being heard.
Yes.
My sound. And one agency in particular that I dealt with for many now, and not just this particular agency, but different agencies. What I was running into is I'm very proactive, and I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm not going to stop until I get, some kind of results, or until my head is bleeding from hitting it up against the brick wall for too long. But I could talk to multiple people in the very same agency and be told totally different things. What I
We're losing you again, Barbara. So
that again, sorry.
You sound.
Yes, Barbara, we are losing your audio a little bit. And in fact, Stacey just locked up as well momentarily. And I'm not sure exactly why this is happening, but Barbara, I think it might be just an intermittent sound thing on your end. And Stacey, we had talked about the internet tonight possibly being an issue for us. So again, to our audience, we want to thank you for bearing with us through these technical issues. But it's important, I think, that all of us make sure that we are muted so that we don't get that background sound. So if everybody stays muted unless you're talking, Barbara, yeah, you're off. But thank you. So sorry to have you intermittent because your story is good. Well, I love hearing from you. Back to you, Stacey. Excuse me.
Yes. So we're wrapping up here. I just want to ask everyone one more question, really. What advice, what's the most important piece of advice want to help? So I kind of want everyone to answer that question. What's the most important piece of advice? And then if they do want to get involved with Mutual Aid Brevard, how would they go about doing that? So let's maybe answer both of those questions. Jonathan, let's start with you. If somebody wanted to be helpful to folks who are struggling, what is the most important thing that you would want to tell them?
I would tell them, first off, the advice is probably the best thing in the beginning. But if they wanted to communicate with me as far as helping me in a situation, do so through the group. And that way people can respond and you kind of come together that way. That way you have 4 or 5 people working on your behalf rather than just one. And then if they did want to help you they can contact administration through this group, and you guys can help out through that. I would recommend, just like your group says, don't send money to any individual, because that's not what the group's for. The group's for if you need help with a gas card, that's a Wawa thing. You can only buy certain things with that card. So it's not like they can get drinks or cigarettes or anything like that. And I think it's the group thing that really made the difference with me, is you would get a different input from somebody else. It was all helpful, but it would lead you in the direction to where somebody's mentioned earlier. If you start talking about something, sometimes you answer your own question. And that's where I found a lot of times too, because I'd be like, oh, I didn't think about that. And so I would go and do it. But if I've tried to keep the group updated on my situation, but if I have questions or anything, I ask. And that's the biggest thing. When I came to this group, I was like, I really, really don't want to do this. But if I wouldn't have, God, who knows where I'd be at right now. And so I'm very grateful that I did. And I try to tell people that, like, I've talked to quite a few people on the bus, Lord knows on the map.
I think he might have locked up as well.
So, Stacey, if I were going to answer somebody who asked if they wanted to help, what they might do, my suggestion would be join the group or just read. You don't have to actually join. It's a public group. You can read the post. If you're not interested in working with a specific person or answering a specific need, you can contribute to the group. Or if you just want to say, hey, that one post really hits my heartstrings, but I don't want to deal with that person personally, you can message me. You can message any of the other admin. If you want to say, hey, how can I help them? We'll help you do that without that direct connection to the person. I do that on a regular basis for several people in the group. They'll say, hey, I want to work with that one. Maybe I'll do a grocery order for them or whatever. But the best way, if you want to help, is to just read and see what really connects with you.
If you want to help someone in our community, you can do something as simple as keep a cooler of cold water in your car, a sweater or a blanket, a towel, even sheets. And if you see someone that looks like they may need a drink, offer it to them. Ask them how they're doing, if there's anything you can do to help. If it's something that you feel like you're not able to help with, reach out to Mutual Aid Brevard and ask, tell us what's going on. This is the situation. This person needs this. How do we help them? Cooler days are coming. Having those sweaters and blankets and sheets, towels in the car, you can offer to someone that is cold and ask them what help they need, or tell them about Mutual Aid Brevard and tell them to join the group.
And I'll say this, don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone.
No.
I have a very strong woman sitting next to me here who very much pushed me out of my comfort zone, and the people that we've met in the process, I mean,
are amazing.
They truly are amazing, beautiful people. And some of the people that, have these horrible stigmas painted about them end up being the most beautiful people that you'll ever encounter, especially in our community, in our county.
Very true.
So step outside of your
so much love.
Yep.
And just incredible people that have overcome so much and are feeling alone and unloved. And just a simple ear or a conversation makes a huge difference and gives people hope and definitely helps them not feel so alone.
And of course, piggybacking off of what everybody else has said to this point, join the group. Ask how you can help if you want to help. I mean, from the simplest to the most complicated situations, we can use all the help we can get. We're a small group of volunteers trying to do everything that we can. Many hands make light work.
And you may need help yourself. So please join the group and ask. And you may feel that you don't have much to offer, but even just simply commenting to someone's post or reacting to it with support and saying, I'm sorry for your loss, or you're not alone, or thank you for sharing. We're here for each other. We have to look out for each other.
Well, Stacey, there are a number of questions that are popping up here in the chat. Are you ready to take a break and start taking questions from our audience?
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? We've got a couple that are here in the chat. So let me first of all remind everybody that's here before we get into the Q&A that you are now on the SCPA's program called Mutual Aid Brevard. Share what you have, ask for what you need, and we're all in this together. We are our guest host tonight is Stacey Patel, who is the founder of Mutual Aid Brevard. She's got a whole panel of people who can answer questions. And if you have a specific person you would like to direct your question to, please do that. Please do identify yourself when you do present a question. That way we all know who we're speaking with, and that's good for our discussion tonight. In the chat, I see that we have a question from Dan McDowell, and he says, "What if you do not have Facebook access? How do they reach you?" And Stacey, can you take that question?
Yep. We have a Gmail account, mutualaidbrevard@gmail.com.
So mutualaidbrevard.gmail.com.
mutualaidbrevard@gmail.com.
At Gmail, okay. So at gmail.com. He also asks, safety concerns, any training? Do you provide training when you are working with folks that are reaching out to folks that might be concerned about their own personal safety?
So we that's something we've talked about, is how to do training effectively. To date, we've really just everyone has been at their own judgment, and we've made that part of the rules of the group, is that you take on your own risk. But there are community organizations that we can help direct you to that do work doing outreach with these communities that do provide training. So we can, we'll either get there ourselves or we can direct you to another organization that would be able to provide that kind of training.
And Daniel also asked, what kind of plans do you have? What future goals do you have for Mutual Aid Brevard?
So does somebody else, I thought somebody was just going to jump in. Okay, so two things. One is, one thing I would encourage you, if you do want to work with this, the community, specifically the community that's living on the street, that's the one that I think Mr. McDowell might have been addressing. You may want to participate in the Brevard Homeless Coalition's Point in Time Count, which happens every year. That is a really good training opportunity to kind of go out and meet this community and learn a lot more. So that is one training opportunity I do want to point folks to. In terms of our goals, so we're not a formal organization. We are not a nonprofit. We're a Facebook group. We are an informal network, and everything has been kind of handled informally. So we are really thinking about the future direction of our organization, whether we do want to become a nonprofit, whether we want to partner with another local nonprofit, become part of them, or whether we want to become what's called a cooperative, a co-op, where we kind of work together as a community to build our organization. So that's something we're really focused on. I think another goal that we've been working on recently is bringing together the social services community. We had a big lunch at an Evans Center in Melbourne, where we had a bunch of social services providers come together and have lunch together and really talk about the kinds of issues that our community is facing. So that's another goal, another thing that we've been really focused on as a group.
You know, it's interesting. The Space Coast Progressive Alliance hosted an event a couple of years ago about homelessness and One of the things that we did is that we were reaching out to the community, trying to bring folks together. We actually, through one of the county board members, brought together a team of real experts in our community, folks from Daily Bread, United Way, and that sort of thing. And it was so interesting for me personally to be involved in that, to see how totally dysfunctional this part of our community is. You know, we do have lots of assets. There's money that flows. There are people in offices. There are people that really do want to help. But when it comes to somebody who says, "Hey, I need help," and how does that actually filter through? Who gets to do what? Who is responsible for taking that, making a case file, etc.? And the system just falls apart. And you're supposed to be able to dial 211. The general rule of thumb is if you have trouble and a cop comes up, they'll say dial 211. You'll get help. And you connect up to an operator who says, "Okay, what's your situation? What's your located? How can I contact you?" And then they'll say, no, we actually can't because we don't have money. Or you'll get connected to somebody who says, that's not our specialty. We'll roll you over. It is a wildly dysfunctional situation that we find ourselves in, not just here in Brevard County. This is something that happens around the world. But here in Brevard, we've got it bad. And whatever the disease is, boy, do we have it. And even wealthier communities in places that should be able to do better, they struggle with this same problem. So it would, if you guys, I shouldn't say if you could find a solution, we can find a solution, because we genuinely are all in this together. By the way, while I'm babbling on, I should ask, if you have a question, please, if you're on the Zoom call, please look for the little reactions button, click on that. If you click reactions, it has the thing that says raise hand. Push that, raise your hand, and we'll call on you, and you can ask your question directly of Stacey or anybody else on the panel, and get your question answered. We've got a wonderful group here, wonderful resources, and this is your chance to ask questions directly. We had a few questions there in the chat area, and I think we've covered that. I see that, Stacey, you've posted that you're on Facebook at groups Mutual Aid Brevard. So if somebody just logged on to Facebook and then in the search engine you would type in Mutual Aid Brevard, and the window should open, and then you can do that. I know that I've been there myself, but for anybody that is interested in this, your primary means of operation and contact and working together is via Facebook. Is that right?
Correct.
And how has Facebook, have you had any trouble with Facebook? As I know that Facebook has been having weird issues lately, whether there's political content on a site or whatever. Have you had any problems with Facebook?
We have some admin issues here and there, but honestly, because it's the community square, and I have some personal ethics problems with Facebook, but because that's where everyone is, it's really where we have to be. And I really feel that way. Even for things like 211 and our social services, our outreach really needs to move into that social media space, because sometimes folks are more able to share there than they are even to pick up a phone. So I think we need to figure out how to be doing effective outreach online as social services agencies. One thing I wanted to add is that figuring that out, that mutual aid between agencies. There's so many agencies who don't even know what each other do, right? Is a next step for our community as well. We see a lot of agencies and their staff participating in Mutual Aid Brevard. Either they'll be posting about their own clients, or they will be sharing resources that they have. So that's been a really good thing to see too, is just kind of that that spark of that relationship between agencies that may not know each other.
I know that one of the great voices of reason in my personal experience, having done this with the Space Coast Progressive Alliance, was John at Daily Bread. I don't think he's there anymore, but John pulled me aside one time. We were talking about this, and he was kind of laying out who does what in this community, who does what well, who does what poorly, and it was very depressing, to put it simply. It was we've had some just absolutely wonderful communications and help try to help other people as best we can. But again, we're just one little organization. And I remember going to a homeless commission meeting where there were like 200 different representatives from giant organizations. And you would think, gosh, how could we possibly have anybody homeless in this community with all these people and everybody's getting up, making speeches, talking about all their resources, blah, blah, blah. And it just doesn't seem to work. And it's just insane. It's crazy. I see that our president, Raed Al-Shaibi, has his hand up. Raed, you have the floor.
Well, you're going into my question, and I think Stacey did answer some of it or led into it. So if I become homeless, or if I know someone who came to me and he needs help, what are the main resource that he can reach out to from the government side or county side, or whatever locality that we have here, or with private organization? I mean, so is there anything that they need to do? I hear of Section 8, for example, for housing. And I thought it was available to anybody who cannot afford it. So why are we having problem housing people? So if I become, is it about how many children do I have? Is it about single people? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is it really depends. And that's why we're having problems getting people to the right resources, because Agency XYZ will serve people with children. Agency ABC will serve women with domestic violence. Someone will serve only men. A lot of these are at max capacity, so they don't serve anyone at all. I would say if I encountered someone who was experiencing being unsheltered, I would say they do need to call 211, because you do want to get them in the registry. It could take weeks or months for them to get any help out of that situation, but you do want them in there. I would say that they should post, either you as their advocate or they in Mutual Aid Brevard. If they're in Melbourne, I would get them to the Daily Bread, because Daily Bread does have caseworkers that can get them some advocacy. But it really, really does depend. In terms of Section 8 vouchers, they open for a very short period of time. They are by lottery. And sometimes agencies can help families with certain qualifications get a voucher for an emergency, for example. But again, that all would go through 211 and get to those agencies. And I hate to say this, but really, as advocates in our community, as leaders in our community, we have to build these backdoor relationships until we build a system that actually works for people. Right now, I can't tell you how many people on my Rolodex that if somebody comes to me, I know I'm going to knock this door, then I'm going to knock this door, then I'm going to knock this door. But really, people need advocates in order to be successful in the current system. Because unfortunately, this agency may have a unit come available, and that agency may have just received funding, and you really would not know that unless you're paying attention. And unfortunately, we're not to a point where it's easy to navigate for the ordinary person. Go ahead.
Let me just jump on ordinary person. So if I know, we know unemployment right now is, we're struggling to find employees right now. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the rates are, with inflation and the cost of living is high. I mean, everybody's trying to adjust. So, but there's a lot of jobs available. What is it? Transportation for some of these folks? Because we're begging sometimes to find employees to work. So, what is the disconnect?
I would love. Tiana, I think, has jumped off, but I think there's a bunch. There's childcare is a huge issue for women, especially. Transportation is absolutely an issue. Clothes, laundry. And let's face facts. If you are making $15, even $20 an hour, $25 an hour, you cannot qualify for a lease in Brevard right now. You are not making enough to live. So that's the challenge, is that I know for a fact that the people that we serve are sleeping on the street and working in the kitchen at the restaurants we're eating at the next day. So there's a major disconnect between income and the affordability of housing in our area right now. And it's not just groceries. I mean, groceries are really problematic, but housing, you really can't qualify for a lease unless you have 3 times your income of, you can demonstrate 3 times the rental rate in your income. And most people in our service economy cannot do that. So you're having to, you're joining families together and trying to, figure that out. But we're going to have to figure out from a policy perspective, how do we adjust such that our incomes actually match our housing rates?
And Barbara just tossed in the comment that said that, and you have no eviction or criminal background. In other words, if you have a couple of black marks on your file, it's hard to get the job. It's hard to get the rental contract or to have stable housing. And it looks like Stacey may have frozen up here. We've had some difficulties with our internet feed. Stacey, you're back with us. You know what? Our time is starting to wind down, but usually at this point of every one of our events, we like to ask we'd like to ask anybody on your panel for action items. One thing we always like to remind people is that if we've had a nice discussion here tonight, that's terrific. But it really doesn't get us where we need to go. We need action items so that those of us that are on this program, that are watching, that are listening to you, can do something. We rather than sitting and learning and having fun and it being educated is great, but we need to get action. We need to have things happen. I saw that Barbara Willett posted mutual aid Brevard at gmail.com, just to make sure that that's clear for everyone. So if anybody's wants to be involved, wants to have that email contact, it's mutual aid Brevard without any spaces, mutual aid Brevard at gmail.com. And also you can go to the Facebook site and just in search, you probably type mutual aid Brevard and it would take you right to the mutual aid Facebook page, which looks like the primary source of functionality for mutual aid. Stacey, do you have any action items that you can pass on? It looks like you may have frozen up again. You're back. Any action items that you could pass on for our group tonight? You just walked. There you go.
Yeah, it looks. I think Stacey.
If you are interested in making a monetary contribution of any kind, I put our donation links in the chat as well. And most importantly, I think I want to reach back to what Anna and Tyler said. Do it. When you are called to deliver water, when you are called to help that homeless neighbor, when you are called because there's a senior on your street who has found out that for whatever reason they're losing their home, when you are called because there is a blind man at the convenience store and it's cold, it's your job as a member of our community to do something. So I would say, yes, please get involved with our organization. But part of that is just having the consciousness that part of being a member of a community as beautiful as ours is taking care of our brothers and sisters. So, and that's really the ethos of what Mutual Aid Brevard is about. And if you can't do it, please reach 700 people that might have an avenue or a path to get someone to the food, housing, lights, whatever it is they need. So that's what I would say are the action items. Does anybody else? I don't want to. Leslie, Kathy, Anna.
No, I 100% agree. Get involved in the community. One of the things that I like to tell people is, think of the darkest place you've ever been. Put yourself back in those shoes. Be the person that you needed at that time for your community.
Absolutely.
I know that Leslie Mitchell had something to say.
I was only going to add that we as the group can use volunteers as well. If if you're able to donate, that's wonderful. We also need people to grocery shop and run things from here to there, and help people process applications for services. And there are lots of ways you can volunteer. So you can send an email to that email address, or you can just message us through the page if you have an interest in doing any of those things.
And one of the things that I would hope we can do, and I know that Vicky and Poco's on with us tonight. Vicky helps manage all of our Facebook activities at Space Coast Progressive Alliance, is hopefully we can have a link through SCPA's Facebook page or perhaps our website to you. And to help in any way that we can help. I hope that the SCPA can step forward. We've got many of our board members are on this call tonight. And so hopefully this will spark some discussion of how we can help and how we can be involved in the community. We are literally out of time tonight. I do want to take a moment to say thank you so much to all of you. One of the questions that was asked was, how do you avoid becoming overwhelmed and burnt out and depressed? And the answer, I think I can speak up, and that is to say, you push through it. You know what? You're an adult. There are times when you are going to cry, and there are times when you are going to say, I can't do this anymore, and you need to step back a little bit, and so be it. And as was said earlier, many hands make light work. When somebody has to step back and the group can form that ring and keep holding each other up, there is great strength in numbers and strength in love and the mutual support of a mutual aid organization like this. I cannot say, this is me personally stepping up before we close. Stacey is a great hero in our community, a person who I have just so much respect for. Stacey and Sanjay have done so many good things, and it's going to make me cry if I can only say we are so lucky to have you. We are just genuinely thankful, and I hope, and I can tell from the voices, the other voices here on this event tonight, that everybody here has given of themselves. If you're a compassionate human being, it is hard to step over or walk around a homeless person on the sidewalk, to see people that are hungry, that are sick, that just need a little bit of something. And you may be just the person at that moment. I'll leave you with a short thought, and that is that at my mother's funeral, a man came who I did not recognize. There were lots of people that came. My mom used to do this kind of thing up in Chicago, where there is just an incredible community of people in need. A man came who I'd never recognized, and at a funeral, people come up and they want to say something. He said, I was sitting on a sidewalk. I was ready to slice my wrist. He said, I had a razor. I was ready to do it. And he said, I was sitting there, and there was this lady who walked up to me and said, what can I do to help you, young man? And my mom was like 82 at that time, walking around the streets of Chicago, and she came up to somebody and said, what can I do? And she helped him. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, but he came to her funeral and said she saved my life that day. And any one of you probably has the same story, that when you reach out to somebody with a bottle of water and a little ounce of love or concern, you may save a life, and it's the greatest gift that a human being can give. So much from my story, but I mean, I really, really want to thank all of you for what you've done. To everyone who has done this, and to those of you that are willing to reach out and help Mutual Aid Brevard, this is a very, very, very worthy organization, very worthy, very loose and friendly group of wonderful people. I would like to remind everybody that the next SCPA event will be Thursday, January 5th. It's SCPA elections, looking ahead to 2023. The SCPA will be having our election on Zoom, so we're encouraging everybody to join, to participate. Most importantly, more than anything, we're begging you to please vote. If you haven't voted yet, please vote early. Please, please get involved. Do something. Help your neighbor to vote if they need a ride to the poll. If you can knock on a door, if you can make a phone call. We are desperately in need of better leadership in our government, and hopefully that can help make some of this problem go away with good leaders in our community. But as we all know, it really falls on all of us as citizens to make this happen. Please vote. Please stay involved. Please get involved with mutual aid if you possibly can. I'm going to ask everybody, please come off of mute right now. Let us all come off of mute and to give a round of applause to our guests from Mutual Aid. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Everybody, please, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much to all of you. We want to say thank you, and we will look forward to seeing you in the new year, 2023. Hopefully will be a wonderful, healthy year. Hopefully we can exit from this pandemic and to have strength and love together. So for now, I'm going to say those on the Action Projects Committee, please stay with us. We'll do a short briefing. For everyone else, good night to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.